What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video on the Lockdown Defense Sports Network. I'm your host for today's episode, Robert Garcia, Young RG, as Coach likes to call me. And in today's episode, we are continuing on with our weekly divisional off-season reviews, grades, overviews, however you want to describe it. Basically, we're just going through each team division by division every week leading up to the season, and just kind of going over our personal grades for them one by one, kind of seeing, looking at their draft picks, their signings, record predictions, things like that. So, like I mentioned, continuing on with the AFC South this time around, I am going to be going over the Jacksonville Jaguars and their 2025 season, and kind of what surprises they have in store for us. Obviously, a very exciting team to talk about with their number one overall draft pick, which we'll get into, and their coaching changes. So that's something we'll definitely get into. Ooh, excuse me. If you wanted to take a look at some of the other teams, we had Real AG Alex Gibbons put out the Titans video yesterday. And I believe we have Mike Dubb doing the Texans and Coach doing the Colts. So definitely be on the lookout for those later this week, tomorrow and Thursday. But let's dive into this AFC South team, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Duval. Gotta love that. All right, now let's get into, first off, their notable free agent signings this year. Starting off, you're going to notice there's a big trend here. A lot of what I would consider, just from my coaching staff, hardball guys, a lot of offensive linemen, a lot of tight ends. So starting off here, the biggest contract they gave out this offseason, the O-lineman Patrick McCarry, 3 years, $37.5 million. Going on, continuing down, we're going to get into 3 straight skill positions back to back to back, and then it's just going to be all big guys after that. So signing cornerback, Jordan Lewis from the Dallas Cowboys, 3 years, $30 million, and signing another NFC East player, the wide receiver De'Ami Brown, 1 year, $10 million deal from Washington, and then last one, or the last skill position, signing safety Eric Murray to a 3 year, $22.5 million deal. Continuing down, like I said, going with some more big guys, signed another O-lineman, Robert Hainsey, a 3 year, $21 million option. A tackle, Chuma Edoga, 2 years, $7 million. Quarterback, Nick Mullins, backup QB, 2 years, $6.5 million. A couple of tight ends in Johnny Munt and Hunter Long, in a couple of 2 year, $5.5 million deals. And then that is all to replace the tight end that they lost, Evan Ingram, who of course went on to the Broncos, the wide receiver Devin Duvernay, who I'm not quite sure where he went. I don't remember him getting signed. He may very well still be a free agent. And of course, the cornerback that they released, Ronald Darby. Now, getting into the draft class a little bit, obviously, kind of going back to the free agents a little bit, not a whole lot to look at. Obviously, no huge contracts, the biggest one being to Patrick McCarry, the O-lineman. I think he could be a solid piece for them. Definitely for the run game, he can help out a lot. De'Ami Brown, I like a little bit, has that playoff experience, played with a young quarterback in Jaden Daniels last year. But I think he can produce a little bit of, big play potential for the Jags, especially given that they have 2 other pretty good wide receivers, although very young, albeit. So getting into that draft class and talking about one of those wide receivers who, although isn't listed as a wide receiver, he can play the position and play it quite well. And that is Travis Hunter, of course, the cornerback, wide receiver, unicorn that the Jags took with their first round pick. Jags obviously not having the issue that a lot of other teams are having in terms of signing a second round pick because they did not have one. They traded that, packaged it with another first round pick, next year's first round pick, 2026, to move up to the second spot in this past draft with the Browns to take Travis Hunter. Now, a lot of people can argue, well, they needed a cornerback and wide receiver, so you could argue that they used a second round pick and a first round pick to get both those positions. However, we don't know what Travis Hunter is going to be in the NFL. So to kind of say that, I feel like you're jumping the gun a little bit and kind of putting a lot of pressure on a guy who hasn't even played a snap yet in the NFL. So, but obviously Travis Hunter, phenomenal talent. We've talked about him a lot on the pod as it is. he's going to be amazing wherever they put him. I think it's just going to be a matter of in this first season, maybe in these first couple of seasons, if his body's able to handle the extra games, the extra snaps year in and year out, or we'll see maybe after this one quick season, depending on how the Jags do, if they kind of assign him a full-time role and have him be part-time. It would be either wide receiver 3-4, cornerback 3-4, slot, nickel, dime, corner, however you want to look at it. But continuing on with the draft picks, their 2 third-round picks got a safety, Caleb Ransaw out of Tulane, another tackle, Wyatt Milum out of West Virginia. 4th-round pick, and this is one I know a lot of fans are very excited for, Bashal Tutin out of Virginia Tech. This was obviously a very loaded running back draft class, so a lot of guys drafted in day 3 that are projected to, take, I don't want to say take over the starting role, but projected to contribute very, very early on. It is the one position I'd argue in the draft, coming out of the draft, I should say, that translates the easiest. Running backs pretty much are in their prime the minute they get drafted. So, I think it'll be a good move for them, especially because it looks like they're pretty much ready to move off of Trevor Etienne. They still have Tank Bigsby, who I like a lot, but in today's NFL, you pretty much need 2 reliable running backs. And obviously, like I mentioned, with Etienne kind of one foot out the door already, I think this is probably his last season with the Jags. I think Bashal Tutin, maybe for dynasty leagues, can prove to be very useful to stash. And I feel like he'll get a lot of touches maybe end of this season and definitely start of next season. Now kind of getting into the other draft picks, the 4th-round pick, linebacker Jack Kaiser out of Notre Dame, couple of 6th-round picks, edge rusher, a couple of defensive 6th-round picks, edge rusher Jalen McLeod out of Auburn, and the safety Ryan Lane III out of Navy. And then their final 2 7th-round picks, the center Jonah Monheim out of USC, and the running back LaQuint Allen out of Syracuse. So getting on to trades and coaching changes. First trade, the only really big trade that I guess you can consider it big trade that the Jags made this offseason was trading their wide receiver Christian Kirk to Houston, the division rival, for a 2026 7th-round pick. Now, obviously, what they got back in return was basically nothing, but it's better than getting absolutely nothing, which is what would have happened had they would have just let him go. Obviously, Houston needed a wide receiver bad after the injury that Tank Dell suffered last year, Stephon Diggs leaving in free agency to the Patriots. So Houston definitely needed some wide receiver help, needed somebody to pair with Nico Collins, and Christian Kirk is definitely somebody that can contribute much better as a wide receiver too than I think the Jags initially wanted him to be when they signed him as potentially, they paid him like a wide receiver 1, whether they wanted him to be that or not, that's what they paid him for. So he did not live up to that, unfortunately. So he got shipped out. But I think he could definitely improve himself and a lot over in Houston. He's in a much better situation, in my opinion, with a much better quarterback, in my opinion. So, yeah, I think Christian Kirk is definitely happy to be there, and the Jags were definitely happy to move off him, clearly, giving him to a division rival for basically nothing. So that's crazy. Now moving on to, and personally, probably my favorite topic of this Jags team, and it's their coaching changes this year. And of course, getting into the first and most important coaching change that any team can make, it is the head coach, and it is Liam Cohen. Obviously, you guys kind of heard my little jab with the Duval at the start of the video. That will live forever in Jacksonville lore and history, no matter if this guy gets fired after this season or if he becomes one of the greatest coaches in Jags history. That will live on forever and ever. And so, yeah, that's just what the state of the team is at right now. Absolutely love it. Now, the way he got hired was a little slimy. So I think a lot of people, I guess maybe a lot of neutral fans who are neither for Jacksonville nor Tampa Bay, are kind of rooting for his downfall. I know Tampa Bay fans are certainly rooting for his downfall. But, the way he got the job with Jacksonville, agreed to continue to be the offensive coordinator for the Bucs under Todd Bowles this season, to be the highest paid one, agreed verbally, apparently. We all thought it was in paper and in writing, but no, he kind of, you do what you do. A little sneaky link, he kind of snuck out at night. Wife thought everything was good. He was in bed, but his mind was somewhere else. And lo and behold, we find out that he was the whole time planning on becoming the head coach for the other team in Florida. So that was definitely a shock to a lot of people when it got announced. Definitely a shock to me, and I wasn't even really aware of this whole drama when it first got announced. But obviously, you see the announcement of Bucs are extending their offensive coordinator, and then you see Bucs offensive coordinator becoming the next head coach for another team, and you're like, what the hell happened? So yeah, definitely going to be interesting to see what the Jags do this year. For what it's worth, Cohen does come from some, pretty solid experience, a pretty solid background. He was obviously with the Rams with Sean McVay. He was actually with the Rams 2 separate times. He was the one that replaced Kevin O'Connell when he inevitably left to the Vikings. And then after that, he kind of went to Kentucky back for a little bit, and then went to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in February of last year, 2024. And he carried that team, or I should say coached that team. They were 4th in offensive points, and they were 3rd in yardage. So that's pretty damn good. Obviously, Baker was a huge part of that, and he gets a ton of credit for that. But, I think Cohen deserves a definitely big deal of credit of that as well. And he is going to need to bring it this year with the quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, that they have now. This is a big test, because I'm gonna be the first to say I am not a Trevor Lawrence believer. I have not seen anything from him that makes me think, oh my God, this guy's the greatest thing ever. So yeah, take that for how you will. He obviously haunted my team in a playoff game, but I again can attribute a lot of that, or most of that, to just the ineptitude of Staley. And just how terrible of a head coach he was, because even the Jags head coach at that time, Doug Peterson, got fired. So, that just wrap it all up by saying that, yeah, I think Liam Cohen is going to have to work miracles with Trevor Lawrence. And hey, if he's that coach and he's able to, you got me. All right. This was a great hire, and that Duval is going to be used against every fan that isn't a Jacksonville fan. So, we're either going to have to eat crow, or it's going to be mocked or used to mock Jacksonville for years to come. Taking a look at their schedule here, obviously have a 4th place schedule, last place schedule from finishing last in the division last year. The first week of the season, really your only biggest tests are the Chiefs and the divisional game against the Texans. I think the Bengals will be a tough team, but depending on how your defense is this year, you do have a good amount of solid pieces on that defense. You obviously have the 2 edge rushers and Josh Hines Allen and Trayvon Walker. You also have Eric Armstead there in the DT, so a really solid front 4. You also have Devon Hamilton, but a really good top 3 with another DT as well. And then they also have Tyson Campbell at cornerback with Jordan Lewis, and of course Travis Hunter. My God, blanking on the name. So I think their defense could definitely surprise a lot of people, but we'll see what happens with that. So looking at the schedule, obviously it's going to be, I'd say a pretty easy first week. Then you got a couple of more tough matchups in that, that middle 6 weeks of the season, with the Rams, the Chargers, Texans again. And I think the Raiders are really going to be a competitive team this year. So definitely, I think that'll be a tough game as well. Last 6 games of the season, I should say, is a lot easier. You play the 2 worst teams in your division by far, both times in those last 6 weeks. So 4 what you could consider gimme games, one of them against a rookie QB, one of them against a QB who gets tired on the jog from the locker room to the field. So take that for what you will. And then you also have the Jets in there, which, the Jets, as good as they can be, they're the Jets. Broncos are definitely the toughest team in that final 6-week stretch, but you do get them. I believe that is, you're going to Jackson, or you're going to Denver. So yeah, it's going to be pretty bit of a rough one. Bye week is week 8. So that's solid. I'm always a big fan of those week 8 to like 11, bye weeks, kind of right there in the middle of the season, to kind of regroup and, kind of get healthy again. So now taking a look at it, finally here, looking at their offseason grade and predictions, what I give them, I give their offseason grade a B-. I think they did a good job of putting a lot of talent around Trevor Lawrence and ultimately building around him and giving him what I would feel like is the best team he's had since he's been with them. So now, with the easy schedule upcoming and with just, the amount of talent that they acquired, they've They forewent a lot of future talent, or a lot of future capital, obviously giving up next year's first round pick to take Travis Hunter this early. It's going to see if it pans out. I personally don't think it will, just because, again, I'm not the biggest fan of Trevor Lawrence. I think their ceiling I think they have a very low ceiling but a very high floor. So I don't think that they are going to be I don't think they're going to be nearly as bad as they were last year. They're definitely going to win, like I see here, 7, 8, 9 games or so. But I think that's kind of it. I think if they went to double-digit wins, that would be a successful season. And I think, with Trevor Lawrence, obviously you have to make the playoffs. Ultimately, that's the biggest thing. You have to make the playoffs. Trevor Lawrence has made the playoffs one time in his career. He obviously won that playoff game, but he's only made the playoffs one time in his career, and he hasn't made it with anybody else but Doug Peterson. So now we're going to see, is Liam Cohen really that good, or is Trevor Lawrence that bad? So with that, all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to check out everybody else from the Hit Squad here, all their socials on X and Instagram. And as well, be sure to check us out on X, formerly known as Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, YouTube, and our Gmail for the channel Lockdown Defense Sports on most platforms, Lockdown Defense on X. So thank you guys so much once again for watching. I would like to say that I am very excited for the Jags. I think that they are going to be hungry in trying to prove a lot of people wrong this year. But I just think that the quarterback is holding them back for sure. With all that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Take care, everybody.